and give me shelter, shelter. Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love and give me shelter, shelter. Yeah.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We Too Are Liberians movement platform. The platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we are in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. I'm your host, as usual, C.H. Williams. Our topic for tonight, labor rights, dignity, and sovereignty in Liberia's China-funded infrastructure. Key theses framing tonight's episode will center on the tension between infrastructure development, bridges of friendship, and labor exploitation, sovereignty, and the neglect of Liberian citizens by their own institutions. It will interrogate how large foreign aid projects, while symbolically uplifting Pan-African international cooperation, may undermine human dignity if local workers are underpaid, underprotected, or marginalized. More broadly, it asks, what kind of Liberia do we want? Or where citizens are secondary to foreign contractors, or one that centers its own people in development. Again, one where citizens are secondary of foreign contractors, or one that centers its own people in development. So if you have tuned in tonight, I ask that you begin to share this live with as many people as possible, because this is, to a large extent, a critical topic that's, I think, should be reverberated or should be sounded in our community, if not just locally in Liberia, but even all over the globe. So again, thank you for tuning in. It has been a while since we actually streamed our broadcast. And so tonight, I want to welcome all of you. Thank you. And so if you just come across this live, please begin to share the live with as many people as possible. Let's do an analytical breakdown on today's key talking points. The Overpass project, context and controversies. The Ministry of Public Works in Liberia signed an implementation agreement with China for 2 overpass bridges along Tubman Boulevard, precisely in Congo Town. The value of the project is about $36 million, fully funded by China and executed by the China Road and Bridge Corporation. That's CRBC. Groundbreaking happened actually in September 2025. Labor rights, that's something that we want to talk about, and also the protection concerns. In the broader context, there are recent allegations that the Liberian Labor Ministry granted work permit waivers to 42 Chinese workers, bypassing legal requirements and potentially excluding Liberians from jobs. Now, the Overpass project is lauded to generate 300 to 400 jobs for Liberians, but some statement, yet questions remain. Which job? Skilled or unskilled? Under what pay and safety conditions? The labor questions tie directly into human dignity. Are workers, especially trade workers, being respected, fairly compensated, and protected while doing high-risk construction work? Let's look at procurement, oversight, and accountability. There are serious procurement concerns. A Senate committee reported that the Ministry of Public Works awarded 22.4 million US in road, that's US dollar, in road contracts without competitive bidding. The Ministry of Public Works has defended itself, claiming adherence to procurement law. According to a report by Liberia's General Auditing Commission, that is the GAC, Ministry of Public Works had 89 contracts for civil works, totaling over 517 million US dollar, and hired 4 consultant firms to supervise only 8 of these World Bank funded contracts. This raises the question, where are the independent, effective eyes, that is, consultant firms, to ensure contractors deliver in line with technical specification, contract terms, and social obligation, like labor protection? And so if you're tuning, this is the We Too All Liberians Movement platform, the platform that speaks to and for the masses. We say we're not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Now, sovereignty, Pan-Africanism, and human dignity. That's something that we want to pay keen attention to. On the surface, a China-funded project reflects Pan-African cooperation and infrastructural development. But if the term of engagement under local labor and benefit external actors more than Liberian citizens, then we risk perpetuating neo-colonial dynamics. Human dignity demands not only ground monuments, but also that every worker's rights are upheld. Infrastructure should not be built at the expense of the very people it's supposed to serve. There is a deeper question. Are we building physical bridges but burning social bridges? If local labor is underpaid or disrespected, what message does this send, or that send, about who truly owns Liberia's development? Now, vision for a different Liberia. What does a Liberian first development model look like? One in which citizens are not just laborers, but stakeholders, benefiting from jobs, upward mobility, skill transfer, and fair pay. What reforms are needed in the Ministry of Public Works and procurement processes? For example, stronger independent supervision, transparency, enforcement of labor laws, and prioritizing Liberian contractors, subcontractors when possible. Now, how can civil society, trade unions, and Pan-African institutions push for infrastructure that honors both sovereignty and dignity? Now, this will be a call to action and a reflection. Encourage listeners to push for civic engagement, demand transparency on how contracts are awarded, ask for labor protection, and support platforms that hold government institutions accountable. Reflect on Pan-African solidarity. Infrastructure and partnership must not only build roads and bridges, but also build economic justice and human respect for all Africans. The question that we want to ask, why is this topic so important, or why does it matter for the We Too podcast? We have several answers to this particular question. One, because We Too movement, or the podcast, is about people-centered development, and this story tests that principle. The We Too movement podcast exists to amplify conversations that put people first, their dignity, their work, their rights, and their voices. The Liberia-China overpass project reveals a fundamental tension. Big development is happening, but are the people meant to benefit from actually this particular project? When foreign-funded infrastructure takes precedence over local labor protections and fair treatment, it directly challenges the We Too movement or We Too podcast philosophy that development must elevate citizens, not sideline them. Because it speaks to the largest struggle for African sovereignty. Our We2 podcast is a Pan-African voice. The Liberian-China dynamics echoes a continental story. Africa welcomes investment, but must guide its sovereignty, ensure fair labor practice, and insist that development partnership strengthen rather than weaken local capacity. This episode becomes a platform to explore how infrastructure deals can empower or erode national self-determination, a core concern for any movement committed to African agency. Fourth, because accountability and transparency are key pillars of the movement, We2 movement also challenges systems that fail citizens. Procurement irregularities, weak oversight, and limited supervision in major public works try to raise critical questions about governance. The podcast can run these insights into a civic education movement, helping listeners understand why transparent processes matter and how they can advocate for accountability. 5, because it connects everyday struggle to national vision. Infrastructure might seem like a technical topic, but at its core, it is a story about what Liberia is becoming. 6, because the We2 movement amplifies the voices that usually go unheard. Foreign contractors, government ministries, and major corporations have platforms. Workers, communities, and civil society watchdogs often don't. But overcoming or covering this topic, the We2 movement podcast become a microphone for those stories about unsafe work, unfair pay, or exclusion from jobs might override or otherwise remain invisible. Now, 7, because it invites visionary thinking. What kind of Liberia do we want? Is a question. A core We2 theme is imagining a better Liberia. This episode pushes listeners to reflect not only on the problems, but also the possibilities. Fair labor laws enforced, independent oversight strengthened, skill transfer required in all foreign contracts, Liberians leading and owning the development of their country. This aligns perfectly with We2 mission to inspire collective imagination and action towards a more just society. And so if you're tuning, you're watching the We2 All Liberians Movement podcast again, we say that speaks to and for the masses. So in short, this topic matters for the We2 Movement podcast because it sits at the intersection of dignity, justice, sovereignty, labor, accountability, and national vision, everything the movement stands for. It transforms the headlines about bridges into a deeper conversation about people, power, and the future of Liberia. Thank you very much for watching. I have been your host tonight, C.H. Williams. Look forward to seeing all of you here. It's certainly a pleasure having you back on our We2 All Liberians Movement podcast. Again, we say the podcast to speak to and for the masses. We're not in the business of manufacturing placements and hustlers, but rather we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Thank you very much for watching. You have a great and pleasant night tonight. God bless you. Bye.
Simple life is all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter.